Part of the reason I get a little reticent about checking on these community refrigerators is because of what happened the last time I tried this one a few days ago. First, let's see what's in here. Nothing. Oh, I've seen this sticker all over town. That's pretty crass. Nothing in the freezer either. But there is this box of something over here. Oh, candles. Looks like Novena candles. And then somebody threw a Budweiser can. Part of the reason I get reticent about checking on these things is because of exactly what happened last time. Which was, I opened the fridge and started to comment on the fact that there was nothing in there. And suddenly I was surrounded by like 5 homeless people. I don't even know where they came from because I looked around before I started recording and I didn't see anybody. I mean, there is a homeless shelter maybe a quarter block over from here, but there's no way they could have swooped in that fast. I just, feel like an asshole in moments like that because here I am like reviewing a fucking community refrigerator and doing it in a way that puts me in the way of people who might actually need it. Anyway, that's your report on the 29th Street refrigerator. I guess I thought it was being stocked by the Flux Factory artists. There's somebody looking at the candles. But Flux Factory moved out. And I forgot to look for where they might have moved to. Yeah, so she saw the same thing I did. This church has great, well, not great, but pretty good bells. I became somewhat obsessed with church bells for a while. I still kind of am. They're the only, church bells are the only musical instruments still in use that sound about the same as they did centuries and centuries ago. So when you're hearing church bells today, you're hearing it the same way Christ heard it. And this church has reasonably good bells, but nothing spectacular. And this is one of the little free libraries that I've tried to do a little bit about, but for some reason, anytime I come over here, people just appear. Like, people come out of this bodega blasting music, or last time I was here, like, a car pulled up and these 2 dudes got out and they were like looking right at me as if they had some problem with me. The thing about this one is it might be illegal because I've never seen one on a city sidewalk before. So it would have to be permitted for that to begin with. And it's also not, but whatever, even if it's permitted, it's not supposed to be chained to the light post like that. That is strictly verboten. So I'm not the sort of guy who's going to report something like this, although I am a 311 chronic at times. Anyway, that's the other thing about this one is it's almost always empty. But that's number 144584. And it's held up pretty well to the elements. It's been here probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years. The Dutch kills. Nothing happening with this one though. Unfortunately, I got to record this whole thing without any intrusion. And by the way, this is another one of my street furniture fixations. And I can owe this my awakening to this bit of trivia to my late friend Joe, who pointed this out to me. Not from any, and it wasn't from any reference source, it was just from his personal observation. That every blue mailbox, every USPS blue mailbox, has its date of birth, if you will, printed on the side. Now this you know, this remains interesting, but it was more interesting when I first learned about this because it revealed to me that a lot of these mailboxes had been out here since the 60s, 1960s. I think I even saw one from the 50s. But what happened in right around 2017, I think, in 2018, they started replacing every single mailbox in New York City with new boxes that were fitted to prevent phishing, you know, pulling mail out, because that became a thing all of a sudden. It's like an old school scam. But these you can barely mail anything but small envelopes in them now. But where you can still find the old dates, though, is on the green relay stations. So let me see, and there are still some of those around. I'll show you that if you're willing to come along. Okay, so this is one of the green relay boxes, as they're called. This probably looks like a dilapidated, unused, forgotten piece of shit on the side of the road, but these things actually get active use. I was meant to say, with respect to the blue mailbox, there was another nuance to the way the dates were printed on them. If it was, I think the date was 1950, or I don't even know what the date was, but just there was a date when, up until 1950, let's say, the date was printed concave into the surface of the mailbox, and then after a certain year, after 1950, perhaps, the numbers were printed convex. Now this one, which has weeds growing out from under it, you can see the old date on it. Let's see, 1982, and there are much older ones out here than this. A lot of times, though, the date on these green boxes gets wiped out by corrosion, because I actually saw 3 other boxes earlier that I couldn't find a date on because it was all rusted over. And it shows you where it was created. Jepco. Yeah, this one looks like it could crumble into the sea at any time, crumble into the nearby sewer. But I do see postal dudes using these things, and once you start looking for them, this is another one of those things where you start seeing them everywhere. At least in New York, I don't know about other cities. I know there's a spot in Midtown where there's like 8 in a row, and then if you go to the next block in the mid-50s, I think you'll find another 8 in a row. This one's here, but there's one more just a block over. Can't see it because that car's in the way. But yeah, these relay stations are all over the place. I mean, I developed a special interest in this stuff because I put together a website pointing, you know, mapping and giving locations for every blue mailbox in the United States. And that was one of my more popular websites. It was sort of like, I remember telling Joe about it. I just told him, yeah, I'm putting together a mailboxes site. And he's like, I can see the headlines now, man. Remember the payphone guy? Well, he's back. And he's got something new, some new piece of street furniture for you. I thought I had something else to say, but now I can't think of it. This could use some maintenance, though. Those weeds are not. Those weeds could actually get into the box, couldn't they? These are the boxes that once in a while you hear about. A letter from World War II gets found in one of these type of boxes. You hear that story every once in a while. And here you see where some of them get painted brown, but it's the same. It's the same thing. And this is one next to a blue box. And this one, I'll show you the date. Date on this one, 1954. It's nice to find something out here that's older than me. And one other observation was, I don't know what year this would have changed, but the more modern ones, it says relay mail. These older ones say storage box. And I'm not even, I mean, it looks like I could open this, but I don't think I can because there's a key there. Yeah, there's no way they would just leave this open. There you have the older generation next to the new generation. Because again, these blue boxes were all replaced. I don't know if other cities did this as well. But these used to have, the dates on these used to be much, much older than this. But if you're looking for old stuff, you can still find it with the old green, or some of them have been painted brown relay boxes. And I'm telling you, I've only walked 3 blocks, and I have found one of these relay mail things on every block. So, it's like I say, if you keep your eyes open, you'll start seeing these things everywhere. In New York, at least. Like I said, I don't know about other cities. I don't see the date posted on this one. Oh, there it is. From here, I can't really see that, but I think it says 1986. I could be wrong. The screen it's too bright out here for me to see the screen, and I can't really read the box from here. I actually had a database. What happened, the reason I had a mailbox site to begin with was, I don't mean to make this sound like there's any intrigue involved, but an insider at the Postal Regulatory Committee knew about my payphone site, and said it was one of his favorites. But he was like kind of a mole at the Postal Regulatory Committee. He was also connected to an activist from a civilian activist who was always suing the Postal Service for something or other. And in one instance, he sued for release of all the USPS blue boxes, or collection stations, or they go by a variety of names: drop boxes, collection stations, blue mailboxes. He sued for release of that data. Absolutely nobody on the internet caught wind of this because it was buried in this really obscure portion of the Postal Regulatory Committee website. So the insider, who I'd never heard anything from before or after, directed me to the location of that, and it was just hiding in plain sight for anybody that wanted to build that kind of website. And I went right to work. And that was getting like triple-digit page views every single week for a number of years. So but I also came into possession of the full data set of those relay mail stations. I decided I didn't want to do anything with them because I thought it was useless information for the public. And I've since come to realize that useless information monetizes very well. And I probably should have done that website. And then I decided that one day I decided I would, but I can't find the data anymore. I can't find the CD that it came to me on. So. And that data, even though I would have received it like 15 years ago, would probably still be pretty accurate, because those old things haven't gone anywhere. The blue mailboxes, their numbers have decreased significantly, and my data on that is pretty old by now. But if I could ever find that relay mail data set, maybe I could have a renaissance of my my web building career, my failed web building career. And as long as I'm doing street furniture theater, I guess I could point out that this would be among the newest pieces of street furniture around. I think these started showing up about the same time as the electric car charging stations, although I could be wrong about that. But if this isn't the newest piece of city-sanctioned street furniture, it would certainly be among the newest. But I don't... When these first came out, they told you to order... You could get a free compost card, this card, and you can use this card to unlock the nearest bin. I've never figured out how this card is supposed to work. Like, obviously, this doesn't do anything. Nothing. There's this thing, but that's nothing. I do not know how this card is supposed to open the bin. I really just don't get it. They are pretty smart though. They're solar powered, and Big Belly makes them. Big Belly's a name in street furniture if you're into that kind of thing. But compost, you're supposed to put food scraps and plant waste and food soil paper, and I know a ton of people are just jumping for joy about the rollout of the composting program, but honestly, if somebody could explain how this card is supposed to let me open the fucking thing, that'd be great. There's another one right across the street here. Astoria, I think, was the first place they started rolling these out. Obviously, I could get the app, but I'm not really that head over heels in love with composting, and my building already has a bin, so... Anyway, I'm going to see if I can find that little free library, and then I'll call it a day. Wow, I can't believe I've never noticed this one before. Maybe it's new. Typo alert. Or I don't know, maybe that's the Eastern European spelling. Been seeing too many of these around Astoria today, but I did see a few. I'm not sure I even want to try my luck with this one. Oh, I think somebody already did. I don't know why I'm laughing, but I was sure it was going to fly away, but I guess somebody already squished it on the side of the wall. There's somebody looking through the little library. That's the one I want to check on. If she's going to be there much longer, I guess she was putting stuff in. I didn't really tell. I couldn't tell. Yeah. Now this is the first one. I think this is the first one I ever remember paying attention to. This is the one that began the otaku-like fixation on these things. And this one's almost always stuffed. Every time I've been here, it seems. One thing I have noticed about these is that people seem to get rid of a certain type of book, en masse. They'll get rid of all their women's history books, like all at once. I don't really see any evidence of that, except for a couple of, I guess that's Korean books, but... Oh, I thought that on the spine I thought it said broth, and broth were young. Well, I suppose broth is born at some time. Anyway, that's what's happening at the... I can't even remember the name of the street. 30th something, 30th place, 30th Drive.